So welcome, folks, to the Open Humans community call. It's May 19th, and I think we have a small crowd today, and I started recording a bit late. We had a couple different things we wanted to talk about. One is with Quantified Flu. We're talking about maybe making another push to encourage new people to join and contribute, and whether there's any for anyone who is participating in that project, whether there's any sort of obvious usability issues that we could address before that would be simple to address first. Another is the puck tracker that Bastian wanted to discuss as a potential alternative to the one-button tracker, which I know Gary Wolf has been really interested in. It is a very open, flexible tool for people to do self-tracking than looking at the puck. And then Abik had wondered if we could discuss a bit about sort of what's happening under the hood in terms of how Open Humans is managing data stuff. Just understanding what we do, which is not super high tech, but is, happy to share to demystify it. And so with that, I think I'm not sure which we should start with. Bastian, maybe we should do a go around, just introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Mad. I'm Executive Director of Open Humans, and I'll pass the ball to Abik.
Hey there, my name is Abik, and I'm a researcher at Arizona State University who designs wearable technology. And then I'll pass it to James.
Thank you. I'm James, hacker living in Highland, Scotland, a cyberpunk that didn't know it until 8 years ago. And Bastian.
Hey, I'm Bastian. I'm the Director of Research for Open Humans and interested in all kinds of self-tracking, and I pass it on to, I forgot the name of the person at Whereabouts. Please say your name again, and hopefully I remember for next time.
Oh, geez. I just came back from a walk. My name is Frank. I'm from Palo Alto, California. I'm a hacker by heart, startup guy, computer guy. Love the startup stuff. I love what you guys are talking about. Sorry about my hair. I just came back from a walk.
Was that everyone?
Do I pass it to?
Yeah, I think it's that was it.
Abik?
I think Abik, and I'm getting better at your name, Abik. Has already gone.
Or Chaudhary?
Abik's perfect, yeah.
He reminded us. He told us it was like the pen, Abik.
And shall we get started maybe on the Open Humans pipelines? So I hope that Gary will join in a bit so that he can also hear about the puck.js, because he was really interested in it.
Okay, so data in Open Humans is stored as files. It is not stored in the database. So I joke that files are like a container format for data, just like Docker for data. And we use S3. So the platform's running on Heroku, and we use S3 for file storage. And I'm not sure what more to add. I like stuff like authorization. So like when you want to share data with a project, what happens is our database records that authorization that you've authorized that particular type of data to be shared with that project. And for the project to access it, usually it has to use tokens to get a link, an S3 signed link that will expire. And so those tokens are usually OAuth 2 tokens if they have a website. But for non-OAuth 2 projects, we provide a master token. And obviously the master token is a security threat. And I've had very clear conversations with students of like, do not put your master token in Git. And after observing the failure of said conversation, those tokens expire after 24 hours. So there's no full automation possible without an OAuth 2 project, sorry. You've lost that.
Reasonable. Git ignore is hard.
It's, Yeah,
It
I
shouldn't
was
be the opposite.
very clear, and it was very clearly not understood. Uh, and s- uh, and then the public data in Open Humans is also these signed links to the SD files. So they also expire, and that's to enable people to make their data not public at any time. So once they make it not public, we're not going to issue more signed links, and the ones that expire, and then it's no longer public. Are there any questions about it?
Yeah, like one layer up into almost like the application layer. And when there's like a new project that's coming online and people are submitting these file structures, and then I was wondering what it was like to start a new project where, let's say, someone's analyzing like the Fitbit data or XYZ data, and they propose like a schema for their file, and then users put that into the schema, and then their process from like proposing the schema, implementing it, like getting other people to contribute data, and then like actually coming up with like useful analysis, since that's what you said was like some of the biggest problems is actually like deriving useful data or like deriving useful insights out of it.
So, so I think that it helps to understand that I've pushed everything into it's a file, and then we understand those as being tagged with properties, and so there isn't a need for a schema to get that data, and yet there could be like an understood schema within that file. One hopes. We don't check. Okay, so we do not check that files will be produced according to certain formats. One hopes that an ecosystem checks, like, you know, in a sense, by using stuff, you say that wasn't what you said it was. But the burden of trying to check sort of an infinite tail of different types of data is something that we made a design decision to not try to do. Although maybe we could decide that, like, for some common formats of like, you said it's CSV and it doesn't load as CSV, like we could like do that. So, right. And then there's like tracking of like, what is that tag associated with a file? So right now, like when we started, it was tagged or associated with the data, the activity that uploaded it. So that was the data source. And so you could, as you create a new project, check which of those data sources, activity data sources, you want to request users to share. So when they join the project, they are agreeing to share those data sources. Something that we've developed and has been halfway implemented and hasn't completely, so it's like it's partly implemented, but not on the requesting side, but on the deposit side, is data types. Because we realized over time that like restricting the understanding of data to this activity runs into multiple issues, because different activities might produce the same type of data. And also one activity might produce very different types of data, and enabling sort of a downstream granularity around the different data types. It's just like we want to enable granularity and trying to like move towards enabling that. So data types is partly implemented. And then the data types can have like a user create it. So we have anybody can create a new data type on the site, and within that there's like a markdown area so you can describe the format of it. So there is the capacity there to say like, this is a data type, it should be structured like this, these are expectations, or link out to say like, here's a link to the format of this data type. And so, but we've made it open-ended, so it's not enforced, that sort of stuff, but hopefully.
So most of it's on like the project owner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and on the users, like setting aside for us the pressure, like trying to make it open-ended to allow you to define formats but without us trying to figure out what those should be or enforcing them.
And that makes it a lot more scalable. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, containers. It's like, it's really like, that's the container for the data. You can put descriptors on it.
And maybe just to add to this, I mean, most projects are depositing one type and one kind of data. So there's like the Fitbit importer, which just creates an ever-growing JSON file of Fitbit API results you get. So there, every single user, if it is like using the same kind of Fitbit integration, gets the same layout, and the structure is enforced on this per project or activity level there. At least the APIs make it very easy to enforce this, because if it's either it's a valid API call and you get the same kind of response, or it's not. It's a bit more tricky for the file uploads, but at least for the ones that we are managing ourselves, we have implemented some checks. So all the genetic data, we check, does it look like this is a genetic data set, yes or no? And if not, we just delete it and let the person know you uploaded the wrong file. So there is a way for like the individual projects to enforce on their end, and we encourage people to do this as much as possible. And then it's at least easy for the data reusage later on. You know that most data coming from a given source looks all the same.
No, I like it. And I think that definitely I'll hopefully go through this process end to end. Can I ask suggestions on a good DNA test that you guys like? And I can like upload the file and like test this out. Yeah? Sorry, did I open up a can of worms?
Do you want genotyping or like the whole 9 yards?
I'm good with superset data. So saying like, hey, if we go the whole 9 yards, unless there's like 9 different tests that would be suggested.
So here's the difference on what to think about if you're making a decision between genotyping and like exome or whatever. Is genotyping only queries like say 1 million positions in your genome, and they have designed that set to query the ones that they think are good, most likely to be interesting, which is probably because they vary more in the population, or they've targeted some set of rare ones. So 23andMe's deliberately targeted some rare ones that they know are meaningful for traits and disease. And you're not going to get information about the rest of your genome. Maybe you can kind of impute it, use imputation to guess it, but you're not going to get the rare things. So you won't know rare events that weren't queried. And so that's the difference in getting exome data, which is the protein coding regions, is the subset of the DNA that's like most interesting or meaningful, because most meaningful mutations are going to occur in the coding region. Or you can get the whole the whole 90 yards of the genome. I think the added value of exome over of genome over exome is unclear, but exome will get you rare information that's not in genotyping data.
And you can also extract features after the fact. So if it turns out that there's like interesting genomes that we now know are interesting, but we didn't know prior, could you query
yeah, you can go back and run the same data against a new database. And so I do that sometimes, and I can point to which database to use.
What service do you like?
Oh,
I like 90 yards.
I mean, this isn't a service, it's ClinVar. It's publicly available collection of data of variants that are tested by genetic testing laboratories. And credit goes to Heidi Rehm for making this public data and not like internal to other labs, which she could have done, but it's run by the NIH, and it aggregates data, like the specific locations that are being tested by genetic testing laboratories that are participating, which is a pretty great amount. So that goes way beyond published literature, and sometimes it'll link to published literature and sometimes it won't, but you'll get like everything. You know, there's a lab, this is the lab that is testing it, this is what they're testing it for, this is how they've classified it.
I think he's asking where to send his spit rather than...
Yeah.
So that as well.
If you want to do genotyping, I like 23andMe, but it's like there's the privacy versus like you're handing your data over questions.
Yeah, I'm like, we all take risks in our lives for right now.
I would recommend opening up the question in our Slack, because there are lots of opinionated people on genetic testing services.
Put on your flame retardant suit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry for asking about religion so early on in the call.
So I wanted to welcome Gary and Ben are here. So hi.
And just to add for the genetic question, I think like I personally don't see a big benefit, at least right now, of paying so much more money for the exome or genome compared to the genotyping, given how little information there is in either. As well for the genotyping, but at least the genotyping only costs $50. So you get like a fun data set to play around with already for $50 for the genotyping, and that's, I think, a reasonable amount of money to spend on this. While for
Well, nice.
everything else, I would wait and save my money and then one day do it down the road.
Because I mean, it's not like it changes.
Yeah,
So it's like
it's
might as
not going
well.
anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like the prices will keep dropping, and maybe it's personally I'm waiting for like long read sequencing human genomes to be affordable, to at least know I've done it once and I never need to do it again. They have like all the structural variants and so on as well.
With
Instead of,
phasing.
yeah, and I don't have to now pay for like, even if it's only like $600 for like a genome sequence, which I want to replace maybe in 5 years from now. So why not just wait? Because I don't think this 5 years difference will make a difference to me in the data analysis.
Good call. No.
Yeah, no, he's right. The short read data, it doesn't get you stuff like structural variants and phasing. So even then it's not like the full, like everything that you could get. So there's every reason to wait for that technology to keep maturing.
Yeah, the technology is definitely maturing really fast right now.
There's also the middle ground, which is GenCove, which is most of the exome for
You mean
$150, I
the
think.
Seek closed up though.
Yeah, right. They don't do it anymore, the low pass sequencing for customers. They are now selling their services to academics exclusively.
Never mind.
Take it to Slack.
No, okay, yeah, we'll take it to there. I will put whatever data through the existing pipelines, and I will definitely be back with more questions about data handling and analysis later.
Do we need a religion or flame war channel now to discuss?
Do we have a genomics channel? Because like just to push all the discussion there. Are you in our Slack, Abik? Like
Yes.
you got it. Okay. So let's move conversation to, do you want to go to the button since Gary's here, Bastian,
Yeah,
and
let's
I can just
maybe
hand this
chat
off to you?
about this. Yeah, but it's really like my question was for James, whether he had played around with it already, the Puck.js. Given that you have also the Bengal.js, I thought maybe you are a full convert.
No, I've been disciplined. I've already got too much stuff, but yeah, the thing that excited me was basically web Bluetooth, and if you can whack on a little, cheap device, then what I was going to say on this topic of like the puck, but there's also the what's the point of the Flu project, or is this n equals 1? There's enough and more corporates and governments or whatever, quasi entities are coming along there to do this quantified flu COVID thing. But I think what's unique I've heard from this community is like n equals 1. But I'm still like, I read a few papers on the link about, how you deploy that, but it'd be nice if this project gave us an example of saying, okay, get your data from your pack, you do an n equals 1, this is what it means. V aggregating 20 or 30 or 5,000 or 5 million data sets and doing the data statistics.
I want to separate these. The puck is not for quantified flu. It was a separate self-study, but agreed that quantified flu is n equals 1.
Yeah, but so just going to the puck, I mean, I don't have one yet, but it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's like this basically one button tracker. You program it using JavaScript just as the Bengal, and you can press it as a button and it will record how long you press it. It has like a infrared transmitter, built-in thermometer, some LEDs, and you can do whatever you want using like the programming you put in through Bluetooth Low Energy as well. And you can use the web thing just like you do for the Bengal. And they have like on the website that I linked in the document, they have like a lot of fun examples of what people hacked together using it, where they use like the magnetometer that's in there, and where they use the Bluetooth and the IR transmitter for doing fun stuff. But I think in the easiest way, which I know Gary is thinking a lot about, you can just make it record a CSV of when you press the button as well. And it's already out there for £30, released under all open schematics and everything. So I think it will be interesting to just maybe So I think after the call, I will just order one and figure out how to get it delivered and see how easy it is to program it to just do the CSV recording and get the data off there. Because I think this might be a nice scalable solution for getting the one button tracker or an equivalent into more people's hands rapidly. And I don't know, Gary, have you shared this with like the one button tracker people?
No, I was going to this morning, but I thought I would wait until after the call to just see if anybody had more information about it. You know, it'd be interesting, very interesting to try it. And like, what is the, like, is there a little operating system on it already, or do you have to load or write an operating system for it? Or, you know, what is the code that it's actually running?
So I think there's like the operating system is on there and you just push one program, like just like for the one button tracker, you deploy one program on it and that is what the button will do.
Right.
But you can do the same thing here and you can interface with all the sensors if you want, or you just take the sensor, which is the button.
Right.
So Gary, the guys created a platform called ESPrino. So it's like a play on Arduino, I think. And this basically compiles JavaScript to the firmware.
Ah, okay.
And that's the new innovation that he's brought to the JavaScript world.
And yeah,
and that's what this whole website is. It's ESPrino.com, selling devices.
And
can you like add on to the? I never heard of this device. Can you put that on the chat so I can go and take a look at this?
And so I looked at a couple of the YouTube videos of people showing what they've built with it, and it's really just you connect in your browser to your button, and you just copy and paste the code in and say upload, and then you are done. And then the button is programmed and it does what you want it to do and records what you want to do. So that seems pretty easy if you can just share the code for people and say, that's like a two-step solution of connect, copy, paste, and upload. Okay, it's 3 steps, but it's still easy enough to do for people if you can make like the code copy and pasteable for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and an insight on the firmware side. So the hardware is based on an ESP board. So Espressif is a hardware manufacturer that makes these processors, and with Wi-Fi Bluetooth capabilities. And ESPrino is their interface. So it's on the hardware manufacturer, and these puck individuals basically use the platform provided by that hardware manufacturer to build up like this product, which gives you over-the-air updates, X, Y, Z, and like gives you the sensor interfaces. But they're separate from ESPrino, because that's just like a service provided by the hardware manufacturer for the processor that they're using. Firmware, fun time.
Got it.
So ESPrino is the platform. It runs what type of operating? I'm sorry if you keep on asking the same question. What does it runs Unix or what? Oh,
it runs. It's a real-time operating system. So have you ever worked with an Arduino, where it's sort of like you just?
I play with the Raspberry Pi a lot. I'm actually pretty good with the Raspberry Pi.
Absolutely. So a Raspberry Pi has like a full-time, like a full Linux kernel.
It's a Linux, yeah.
Yeah, with interrupts. So that's what the Raspberry Pi runs. Arduinos are microcontrollers which run basically just C code. So there's just like firmware, very low level.
Yes.
C code that you just upload to it. This is similar, but what the ESP provides is over-the-air updates, as well as like over-the-air updates to the firmware using your web browser, which is very cool. But it is just basically C code. It's just basically you write the JavaScript, it compiles into C code that is then deployed to the puck or the ESP microcontroller on the puck, and that's how it operates.
Is it chargeable? Do you know? Like, is it chargeable, or do you just replace the battery?
You replace the battery. Unfortunately, it's not chargeable.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So I know this will be something to experiment with, because I know what the one button guys struggled with a lot, and probably are still, I don't know, but was power consumption. And so for personal data collection, it turns out to be very important not to lose observations. And so they even are still struggling, I know, with some bugs where you need some kind of warning that the power is running down, and then some kind of data offload workflow that is very, very reliable, or else people lose their data, and that's like kind of considered catastrophic failure. So there's like, it'll be interesting to see like how, I mean, this has an LED as far as I can
Right,
tell.
it has like you can make it blink to tell you
So that's
the battery
great,
is running
you know.
low.
Yeah, if it's not, you know, if there's a way to manage this process of understanding when it's out of juice and when to replace the battery.
So you don't need a microcontroller to control this guy, do you? Yeah, this is it, right? So you just apply power and code, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really cool because you don't need to plug it into a USB port. So it's just like all of that firmware stuff you don't want to deal with is abstracted, which seems really nice.
So it has a Bluetooth. So does it have wireless Bluetooth? No, it's not wireless, right? There's no wireless connectivity of any sorts.
It does. It has Bluetooth, right?
It's Bluetooth. That's only no Wi-Fi, right?
No, it's no Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi is more power hungry, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why they have the Bluetooth low energy even. So.
Yeah,
But
it'd be really interesting to understand like how long the battery lasts. I don't see anything on this webpage of like,
well,
I mean, I see like power consumption. So
that's why they can't tell you how long the battery lasts because it depends on which code you are running. But let me see, there was like some website where they at least
like
gave
battery is
an
probably
idea.
twice as large, twice as large as this.
And I don't know if this is like also just like firmware nerding, but the ESP boards, different chips that implement Bluetooth have different levels of deep sleep modes, which will increase the battery life. And ESP has a pretty good deep sleep mode, but like the Nordic or the NRF chips have like much, much better ones. And it's also kind of how you write your code, whether it's like interrupt driven, so saying like, hey, go into deep sleep for a second and then like check if the button's being pushed every second or XYZ. And so there's a lot of optimizations that can be done on top of that. But given that it's an ESP board, I would imagine that it's not going to be like years or the sort of battery life. It's going to be like in the order of months.
So they say, I found the front page and they say, and it does all of this with a year-long battery life, but I assume this is if you let it sleep quite a bit during the year.
Well, that's still a nice time scale because my impression was the one button tracker that Thomas and Jacob have. It's much shorter than this.
Don't you depend on the sensors that's going to go? What type of thing are you tracking? I mean, it's only Bluetooth.
A lot.
Yeah, there's no sensors on it. You need to build some digital. You need to connect to digital pins to do their sensors, right? I'm sorry, I'm a technical guy, so that's why I'm reading this.
There's a lot of sensors on it. There's like the accelerometer, there is a magnetometer, there's the IR sensor, there is the temperature, and I think I forgot some as well. That's just the ones that I had on top of my head.
But it doesn't have any storage, right? So basically, it gets the data and then it shoots it off through the Bluetooth, or does it actually store on the disk somewhere?
So it has half a megabyte of flash memory.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot if you want to probably get continuous streams of all the data, but if you want to collect button presses, I think half a megabyte will get you.
Yeah, I play around with these devices a lot. So this is the first time I've seen this.
I think it's promising.
Oh, absolutely.
Shall we switch to Quantify Flu?
Yes.
And we'll hear back from hopefully from Bastian if you can figure out how to get a package. Yeah.
Why can't you get a package?
The limitation is that like in Paris, everyone has like these front doors with a fob, and like the delivery person calls you to let them in, and you need to interact with them. And I don't speak any French. That's why I can't receive any packages at home. And I can't go to the office right now. So currently getting packages is not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not because they cannot produce it. It's more like delivery
it's
issue.
like a delivery issue
Yes,
on my side.
Speak French to a doorman.
Yes.
Yeah, so switching the topic to quantified flu, we were coming out of a meeting with Gary to kind of understanding where we're going, what we're doing with quantified flu. And it's exactly as you say, James, of like the individual aspect of quantified flu is what we see is really key and important and to focus on. In the very short term, I think Bastian suggested I just pose this question at community call. We're hoping to make another push to increase the number of people that might be contributing or are hopefully contributing and using it, and whether there's any obvious sort of usability fixes to make before, you know, trying to get new people to use it. So open-ended question, if there's anything that someone's like, you really need to fix that button.
It needs a button.
It needs a button.
It needs a button. Because I find that I have to go digging through my email to find the last valid token because I can't figure out how on the web page to log symptoms.
So you can log in and there is a button to log symptoms, but the logging in you have. So once you're logged in.
I am logged in. I'm at quantifiedflu.org.
And then there should be a button that says, I'm waiting for the page to load, report now.
Does it need a different
Top
word?
right.
I mean, we can change the what the button looks like, or words on the button, that sort of thing, or the layout of this page.
Report now.
Yeah.
Huh.
But maybe that's not the intuitive title for the.
Yeah, we can change words.
I wonder if that was getting stuck in JavaScript. No, it's right there. Huh. All right. I don't know why I didn't see that because I am having fun right now, and I couldn't report symptoms because I deleted my email, and I couldn't report symptoms until my new token came. So maybe move it above symptom reports, or make it a different color. There's no green on the page, make it green or something.
Yeah, we don't have to have that note above the buttons. And
or even swap where the note and the buttons are, and I would change, there's a lot of blue on that page, bluish purple, make it green or something, because I'm not exactly a novice user and I couldn't figure out how to do it.
I think that visualize past events is also just like not interesting once you've already joined. And
I'm new and I'm trying to find out what am I looking at here.
I can screen share, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have, once we're through this one, I have a suggestion too that I came up with.
What do you mean by updating data with a button? Are you talking about a device with a button, or
no,
actually
it's
physically enter it?
Oh yeah, we're talking about like a website button. So am I screen sharing now?
Yeah.
We were talking about this button, and Ben is saying I didn't see that button. It doesn't stand out, and that's a fair point. There's a lot of blue on this page. And I was saying this whole section of visualizing past events, it's like once you've already done this, you're not going to want to, once you've started symptom tracking, like events are hopefully showing up here. The past events is like a retrospective for once you join the project. Like once you've joined the project, you do that, and like we anticipate that not being something you continue doing. So I think there might be a simple redesign that kind of elevates this and makes like the report button like more visible. This is for someone who's logged in.
I think we can just switch it around.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's good to get even simple feedback of like, I couldn't see the button. But yeah, we're talking about a virtual button. One thing that I was thinking about is making, whether it's important to make it possible to edit past reports and delete past reports, because I know that's sort of a feature that we've intended to implement and haven't gotten to. And like whether we should.
So yeah, I'm all for at least like at minimum deleting things, because I noticed that I sometimes forget I already clicked the link in the email. And I come back to my email at a later point, see the email again, I think, oh, I still need to log my symptoms, and I have 2 symptom reports the same day, which it doesn't harm, but also it doesn't add anything.
Yeah, I get like, I get like duplicate entries. I don't know if you can see this,
Yeah.
like where it's literally the same form got submitted twice. And I like how these are out of order. That's like they're the same things, but in different order. That's confusing. But yeah, deletion is probably pretty easy to, I hesitate to say what's easy, but I mean, like in theory it's easy, but it's always comes down to like the interface stuff of like providing it without people accidentally deleting stuff, that sort of thing.
Matt, this is right on the same theme. Like, I really think that we should be able to add reports when a report wasn't made. I had a glitch in my email with getting bounced. So I have a period between May 4th and May 14th in which I didn't have any symptoms, but it appears to be some kind of pretty big, mysterious 10-day gap in the data. It would be nice for just my own sense of coherence and cleanliness to be able just to go in and report no symptoms for those days. And then I think you might, I don't know if this is difficult, but I think if you're concerned about data integrity, you might just have some record of when reports have been edited after 24 hours or something. So somebody could go and sort like real-time reports from edited reports.
Yeah, I think we had the discussion about data integrity and editing, and I think I feel comfortable with letting people edit and just putting a marker, just like in Slack, like this was edited.
Oh yeah, we talked about this. Yes, I remember now.
But I haven't gotten to implementing these, but I also agree that adding past entries, and we can just like somehow record, like we can always record more in the database than is actually displayed to the user. So we can always record that, like when the entry was created versus like what time, what day it's for. I guess one of the arbitrary things, Gary, is like if someone's reporting a past symptom, like what time of day should I mark on that report? Like, because everything up to now is like not just a date, it's a date and exact time that the report was submitted. So how do I like give it that?
I think it's, I don't think it matters that much because I think these exact times of symptom reports are not going to end up being very useful because these are reminders that go out via email. So there's all this arbitrariness about when you click on that email. So, you know, I mean, you could just call it 0 or, you know.
Yeah, I might call it noon,
Right.
whatever local time zone I think I have for you if you've scheduled symptom reports.
Right.
If I don't have a time zone, I'll default to GMT.
Yeah, because I look at my reports, which I'm clicking on via email, and I think most people are not like super by the minute accurate with when they check emails every day. And I see a range from like 9:17 to 6:34 p.m. So I see a very big range of when I'm actually making these reports.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, me too. I think mine was all over the place. And I have a lot of gaps. It's, yeah, it's been, it's been a time. This is why I think about incentives to actually make the report and like being able to look at it and regret the gaps is also one thing that motivates me to keep doing it. Great. So I have some good suggestions and we're getting near the end of the hour. Were there any other topics that we wanted to chat about?
I have one if it doesn't interfere with anything.
No, go ahead.
And maybe you already talked about it, but now there's a Open Humans data port with the Apple Health loaded, and congratulations, by the way. And I think that I just would like to hear about like how that's going, if anyone's using it, because I think there's a lot of potential in that feature because Apple Health is collecting so much data and so many people are using it. So I don't know, just if you have any reflections on that.
So it turned out that like after the last community call, I sent them this list of like all the things that they asked for, which was just clarifications, and they then approved it without any further feedback. I just got the email saying, congratulations, you are now in the store. So far, I think it's around 10 people who have used it, but we haven't really pushed it out to anyone yet. I think the first obvious step would be sending it to all the people who've used James Turner's old healthcare integration, which doesn't work anymore. This would be the obvious step to get like people to the new version that does work. Otherwise, there was like one person on Twitter, I think that you had somehow linked to Matt and me, who was asking and then said, oh, but now I need to log into Open Humans. I will not be using this. Like, this is not a replacement for the quantified self-access tool, unfortunately. But the code is open source. So if you want to make it one, knock yourself out. I think that the next steps would really be just adding more of the data types that HealthKit does support. And I guess it's just a matter of reading the code for me and figuring out what permissions I need to ask for to add these. Or
well,
maybe
I think that it might be, I have the Generation 1 Apple Watch and I stopped using it just because it's a pain to keep charged and I wasn't getting that much benefit out of it. And I get my data from my Fitbit, which is much simpler for me, but it might induce me to go back to using that Apple Watch because there's, some things that it does that the Fitbit doesn't. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds and hopefully I'll become a trial user and maybe a few others and we'll see what we can do with it.
Hi, this is Frank again, and I'm trying to understand how you guys get the data. So you actually, for the Apple Watch example, you actually offload the CSV file you offload the data from that watch and then send it to the host to enter it into the database? Is that the procedure?
No, the way it works is that for the Apple Watch, it stores all the data on your phone in the Apple Health application. And you can make other iPhone applications which can request access to your Apple Health data. So we made an iPhone application which you can install, link to your Open Humans account, and it requests permission right now to read your heart rate data from your Apple Health Vault on your phone and sends it to Open Humans.
I see. Okay.
And it's XML data,
right? No, this is not stored as a very simple CSV, actually. It's
when you have it, but
yeah. The original, I think you get back whatever structured data which you can then request. Like in your watch, in your app on your phone, you can request it in different formats. It's just if you request your whole data from the Apple Health application itself, then you get this very ugly XML.
How real time is the data, if you don't mind me asking? I thought this is it's like a couple hours difference, right?
So it's right now it does not update automatically at all.
That's what I thought.
You need to open the app and just press the button and say push a new data set to Open Humans.
I see.
There was some trick about running in the background that Jason Lin said he knew how to fix.
Right, I think that would be the next person to reach out to see how to automate this.
Okay.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked, and it'll be interesting to see who uses it.
So which kinds of data would you be interested in, Gary? What would make you start using your Apple Watch?
Well, the Apple Watch has an optical sensor that I think gives you SpO2 now. Oh, it doesn't?
I think it still doesn't. Like the sensor, you are right, the sensor does
not for iPad, not for Apple Watch 1.
But so, and even I think the latest models, they do have the sensor, which in principle allows this, but because the Apple people were not happy with the accuracy of it, they have still not actually started collecting the data. I think that's the state of knowledge I have about this. So the sensor can do more than Apple actually uses it for.
Okay, that's too bad. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna mute.
So the question, I'm not a doctor. But the question is that the SpO2 question has come up a lot recently in all the news reports. The decrease in SpO2 or the fluctuation in SpO2, what can the data be used for, or is it reliable enough to predict anything? It's my question to the community, to the other experts out there.
Sounds like an interesting direction to expand with quantified flu. I don't know whether or what sensor would be recommended or how to go about collecting data. So I think we'll leave that as an open question that everyone here can like elevate answers to.
I found the Quantify Flu, this particular site, quite interesting, and that's why I keep on coming back. As I think you're working with sensors, and then also you're trying to use the data in there to predict something health-wise. So what I've done in the last couple of years, I guess, in my startup, was actually collecting data from, especially for elders with wearables. So I want elders to have these wearables on them. I think Apple Watch may be too expensive, but to have some type of sensors on them that you can actually monitor them all the time, literally. And then so if there's any changes in there, or to build out patterns, so you can actually see if there's any decrease or a pending event. So I thought this would be a good format, good place for that.
Yeah, I think this would be a really interesting thing to add with respect to COVID-19 in particular. I know it's of interest after you know you have it, but whether your symptoms declined. And I think Gary wrote up a thing about it, about blood oxygen and coronavirus. Is that right?
But symptoms is not just, I'm sorry, but symptoms is not just in terms of blood or the SpO2s. It could be activities, the number of activities, and the more silent ones, I guess, is what we're trying to get to. Because all these sensors, we are specifying targeting that thing because of this, something must have happened. So you use a sensor specifically to measure the blood oxygen. But what's kind of innate or kind of dormant in there is because we're more tired, so we don't move as much. You know, that type of data seems to be always kind of under the rug and disappear.
My impression is with blood oxygen data, it's often taken as a one-off reading, and less often as some sort of wearable. But there are wearables, and so I just don't know what, like, since there's so many different ways to go about it, I don't know what the best way to recommend is for people to try using. And that makes such a difference, is it trying to implement it in a project. If we want to incorporate, we have to figure out which types of data we're supporting, which ones we're encouraging everyone to kind of converge on. And so I think it is really interesting. And I think that if somebody has a strong opinion on, like, this is the one people should use, or this is what people should do, then by all means, bring that here. So I think that we're out for the hour, and I should call it a wrap for everyone. But it's really awesome to have folks here, and we had like really great discussions. So thank you all. Yeah. Any last words? Because I'll say goodbye, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for the conversation, guys. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's great that you can join more often, Ben. It's good to see you more often.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not.
No, I'm not. I'm really
Great to
meaning
see
it.
you.
I'm a
Bye.
perennial horn in your side.